Welcome to The Explainer. You know, we're always trying to figure out what really makes the world go round. And it's not just money, it's a very specific kind of money, tied to a very specific resource. It's a system that quietly influences everything from the price you pay at the pump to global politics. So today, let's pull back the curtain on this incredibly powerful force that has been shaping our world for 50 years, the petrodollar.
So what is this secret system? And no, it's not some, shadowy group meeting in a secret room. It's actually a powerful agreement that's built on two things: oil and the US dollar. This arrangement has been the bedrock of international finance for decades. Let's break down exactly how it all works.
All right, to really wrap our heads around this, we got to start with the black stuff, the fuel for our entire planet, oil. It's so much more than just a commodity. It is the absolute lifeblood of modern civilization. Pretty much everything, one way or another, runs on it.
I mean, just think about your day. The car you drove to work, that plane you're hoping to catch for vacation, the plastic bottle you're drinking from right now, even the fertilizer that grows your food. Yep, it all comes back to oil. Our entire global economy is fundamentally built on this single resource.
So this global addiction to oil, it creates this really simple but super powerful dynamic. You've got the major sellers, the producers, like Saudi Arabia, who have a ton of it. And then you have the major buyers, the consumers, like Japan, who need a ton of it. This global tug-of-war for oil is the perfect stage for the US dollar to step in and become the referee.
Okay, so how in the world did the US dollar get to be the king of this massive global market? Well, to figure that out, we got to jump in our time machine and rewind the clock a bit to the years right after World War II, when the entire global financial order was being totally rewritten.
Okay, so after World War II, the world was a mess, right? It needed some stability. So in 1944, world leaders got together and basically pegged the global economy to the US dollar, which itself was pegged to gold. It was solid, dependable. But then, the 70s hit. In 71, the US completely broke that link to gold, the Nixon shock. And then, just 2 years later, an oil crisis sent prices through the roof. The financial world was suddenly in a total freefall, and it desperately needed a new anchor.
So when the US cut the cord with gold, the whole world basically switched over to what's called a fiat currency system. This just means money isn't backed by a pile of gold in a vault somewhere. Instead, its value comes from trust. Trust and faith in the stability of the government that issues it. All of a sudden, the dollar's value was based on faith in the US economy.
Now, out of all this chaos, the United States saw a huge opportunity. Right in the middle of that 1973 oil crisis, a deal was struck. A deal so clever, so strategic, it would lock in the dollar's power for the next half-century and create the very system we're talking about today.
And the deal they came up with, it was just brilliantly simple. The US went to Saudi Arabia, which at the time was one of the biggest and most influential oil producers on the planet, and they made them an offer with two key parts.
Okay, here's the deal. Part 1. Saudi Arabia agrees to sell its oil only in US dollars. That's it, nothing else. Part 2, in return, the US provides them with military protection and support. And because Saudi Arabia was like the biggest kid on the block, all the other OPEC nations pretty much had to follow suit. And bam, just like that, the petrodollar was born. If you wanted to buy oil on the world market, you now had to get US dollars first.
But here's where the story gets really ingenious. This deal didn't just make the dollar essential for buying oil. It created this amazing self-feeding loop that funnels all those dollars right back into the US. We call it petrodollar recycling.
Okay, check out how this recycling machine works. Let's go back to Japan, right? They need oil. So first, they have to go out and buy a whole bunch of US dollars. Then they send those dollars over to Saudi Arabia to pay for the oil. Now, what does Saudi Arabia do with this giant pile of US cash? Do they just sit on it? Nope. They recycle it by investing it back into the safe and stable US economy, buying US government bonds, stocks, real estate. The dollars go out to buy oil, and then they come right back home. It's a perfect circle.
And this recycling loop, it's not just some neat economic trick. It gives the United States some absolutely incredible advantages, creating a level of global power that's pretty much unique in history.
First off, it creates this constant worldwide demand for the dollar. Everyone needs it, which helps keep its value really strong. It also means the US government can borrow money way more easily and at lower interest rates because there's always a global market for its bonds. And maybe the biggest stick of all, it lets the US use financial sanctions as this super powerful foreign policy tool, since so many international deals have to go through American banks.
But, no system lasts forever. After 50 years on top, the petrodollar is starting to face some real challenges. The global chessboard is changing, and the dollar's dominance is no longer a sure thing. You've got rising powers, think China, Russia, and alliances like the BRICS nations. They're all actively trying to find a way to get around the dollar. They're starting to cut deals to trade oil and other things in their own currencies, like the Chinese yuan. It is a direct challenge to the system. But, as they're learning, dethroning the king? Not so easy.
I absolutely love this analogy here because it just nails the problem. Trying to get the world to move off the dollar is a lot like when Threads tried to take on Twitter. Sure, a new platform might be cool, but everyone's already on the old one. All your friends are there, all the infrastructure's there. It's called the network effect, and it's incredibly powerful.
The dollar has some major advantages. First, you've got liquidity. That's just a fancy word that means there are so many dollars out there, you can move billions around without even causing a ripple. Then there's the entire plumbing of global finance. Contracts, insurance, pricing, it's all built around the dollar. Plus, people generally trust the U.S. legal system to protect their assets. So you see, it's not just a currency, it's a whole ecosystem.
So yeah, don't hold your breath for some big revolution where the dollar just collapses overnight. That's probably not going to happen. What we're seeing is more like a slow, steady chipping away at its power. Countries are creating little workarounds, using other currencies for specific deals, especially when they're trying to avoid U.S. sanctions. It's a gradual erosion, not a big bang.
And all of this brings us to the biggest question for the 21st century. For half a century, this petrodollar system has pretty much defined the world order. But now that we're seeing these cracks appear, are we standing on the edge of a brand new era? Is the age of the dollar's absolute dominance finally coming to a close? And if so, what could possibly replace it? That right there is the multi-trillion-dollar question.